time if they miss it, but thank you all so much for joining. I have a couple of updates on kind of the overall picture of where things are going at the state level. And when we talk about that funding, and then we're going to kind of just dig down on the digital navigator pilot, and then talk about some of the other pilot ideas that we had that we're not putting on hold. We're just trying to make sure that this navigator one's in place before we start pushing those other ones. So I'm going to first greet you all. Thanks everybody for coming, and I'm gonna share just a couple of slides, and they're slides you all have seen before. And if you haven't, raise your hand and I can talk about them some more if this doesn't look familiar to you. Hey, Rebecca. So from this past summer, y'all got to witness just how great my design skills got when I got to this slide right here. We are still in this authoring and pilot development and funding search phase, and that's fine. That's kind of where we want to be, because it's a good place to be, because it's all leading up to these pilot projects that we've been talking about. But the big picture that we were talking about is that coming in 2024 and then moving forward, there's going to be some funding coming from the federal government through the state, through the somewhat complementary Digital Equity Act, and then the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Funds. So that's still on track. As I mentioned, when the allocations and some of the proposals that the state released came out, they're expecting to spend, let me put it differently, they're planning to spend something in the vicinity of $700 million on access, and we're going to talk about that in a second too, because it relates to what we're doing. And then leave the rest for what's known as non-deployment. So that's not getting people wires, but getting people online otherwise. The state is working really closely with Department of Treasury and National Telecommunications and Information Agency to really figure out what are the boundaries of this money. What can they definitely not spend it on, and what should they be spending it on? And they're not at a consensus yet. We had a chance to talk to DHCD yesterday, and they're getting there. They're confident that they're going to be in a happy spot when it comes to this. But that doesn't mean that we can't start planning for stuff that we know is going to be money that we can spend. So with that in mind, we wanted to hear how their digital equity plan is coming. I'm sorry, they're calling it the Digital Opportunity Plan is coming. It is awaiting release, but the writing by and large has been completed. So they're expecting it to come out soon. That's just kind of one piece of the puzzle. And once that is in place, in the springtime, we should hear about allocations. So actually how much Digital Equity Act funding is going to be released, and then have a better idea of how the state plans to utilize those funds in terms of that first year of funding availability. One thing that we want to encourage them is, so that you all didn't have to, we went ahead and read the rather lengthy volume 2 of the BEAD initial proposal that the Department of Housing and Community Development Broadband Office put together. And one of the things that it kind of pressed is the desire to spend more sooner, and in particular to see if they could put side by side some of this, some of the non-deployment spending, so long as they can prove to NTIA that they have a plan in place to connect every household and every location. So that's something that we're going to go back to the state with and press them, is that we want, it would be great if some of this BEAD year 2 money actually showed up next year. But we should still expect funding for that to start flowing in the second half of next year, which gives us plenty of time to put together to finish putting together a pilot and then to get it out the door. Now, I'm gonna talk a little bit off of this on what the state's been up to otherwise, and how that relates to you all. So hold on, let me make this bigger. So next, starting sometime this winter, we believe, the Department of Housing and Community Development, which has always run our broadband publicly funded broadband expansion effort, is going to begin its challenge process. Can somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see that okay? Seeing any thumbs, but if you're having trouble seeing it, go ahead and speak up and let me know, and I can try to make it bigger. The BEAD challenge process is something that is part of volume 1 of the initial proposal. It is very well detailed, and even though DHCD hasn't gotten approval from the National Telecommunications and Information Agency, they've gone ahead and started to flesh out what it looks like. So if you go to dhcd.virginia.gov/VATI, VATI, you'll be able to see what they have in mind. And there's these 4 links right here that are really, really important. The top 2 are the most important. The first is the BEAD challenge portal. I'm going to take us over there. Nope, not that one. Here it is. The BEAD challenge portal is where we're going to be able to challenge the eligibility of locations for deployment funding. So what we want to make sure of course, is that every eligible location, so that's a location that is unserved or underserved and not included in any other prior funding program, is listed as such. But we also, because we don't want good money to go with the bad, we don't want to include locations that are actually served. And so our office has taken lead on working with the local providers to analyze all of the data that the state has released, and it's a lot, to try and identify which of those locations are not properly listed. That work is ongoing. There's one area where we haven't really dug in yet, and we could use your all's help, and that's in the community anchor institutions section. So a community anchor institution for these purposes is defined as schools, libraries, medical and healthcare providers, public safety entities, community colleges, and other institutes of higher education, and other community support organizations and agencies that provide outreach, access, equipment, and support services to facilitate greater use of broadband service by vulnerable populations, including low-income, unemployed, and the aged. That's you all, okay? Everybody here is doing some of that, whether you're serving as a local government, as a school. So we want to make sure that everybody is properly represented. And here's kind of where the trouble comes. The state, if we go back to this page, there's the second link that I talked about, which is visit DHCD's speed test and reporting dashboard. And unfortunately, this is that page right now. We're giving them plenty of time. They're still kind of ahead of themselves with this, but eventually, once it goes live, we're going to share the link with you all. We want you all to share it with all your clients and your communities. For you all, the mission needs to be, you go to this connectingvirginia.com website, and when it's working, you look up all of your physical locations. And if you know that a location's unserved and it's showing as served, let us know. You can report it yourself, but we're happy to do the reporting for you. If you know that your location is served, but it's listed as unserved, let us know. And if your location's just missing, that's another thing for you to reach out and let us know. If the website really never materializes, if you have any trouble with the website, we have a couple other ways to actually check this. The data is available separately as a GIS file. we're happy to check everybody's locations and make sure that they're included if this website doesn't work out. But that should be coming online soon. It's currently just in NTIA's hands as to when they're going to okay this. And as it says on the page, as soon as NTIA says that it's go, they have 7 days before they'll start this challenge process. The challenge process is long. It's about 3 months. So we're still looking on kind of a long road before DHCD is ready to start doing applications for BEAD funding for deployment, as well as a long road then before they're going to start doing non-deployment. But that's why it's important for us to be ready to advocate as soon as DHCD has its plans in order and its ducks in a row to start advocating for spending that non-deployment money the moment it's available, which could really be any time. And again, it helps that DHCD asked for the entire sum, which was a pretty big surprise. Generally, an agency of that size isn't looking to spend $1.5 billion all at once, but they went ahead and asked for all of it. And by asking for all of it means technically, as soon as they have a plan in place to cover every location in Virginia, then they should be allowed to spend that non-deployment money. So we will be looking forward to that. But again, the big takeaways we will share with you guys once that website is up. Make sure that all of your locations are included in that community anchor institutions list, and then share that link with your clients and your communities. When it comes to the speed test component, there aren't a lot of mechanisms for us to make sure that unreliable network really gets tagged as an unreliable network. It's a really, really high lift, but at least here in Albemarle, happy to help in other localities, we're willing to at least take a look. And the mechanism for that right now is through that reporting, where eventually you're going to be able to take a speed test, you sign up for reminders, and the idea is you have to take 3 speed tests at different hours of the day across a week span. And then your locality, whoever's looking at this for you, will have an opportunity to challenge if they believe that demonstrates lack of performance. In general, we are still very confident that we're going to be looking at fewer than 30 locations that are actually going to be listed as unserved. And we still think we're going to be able to fit those into other funding programs and hit our universal access goal by 2025. So that was a lot on that. But if anybody has any questions on any of that, let me know. No one? All right. So digital navigators. I am eagerly awaiting an email from one of our colleagues from CACF. Alex has been on calls with us a few times. And CACF, I'm sure everybody knows, is a really fantastic connector for philanthropic efforts in our community. And she reached out the last time I reached out to you all to mention that she thought our program might actually fit some of their current funding. And so she is looking at that with her team, and hopefully will let us know. We set before them an ask of an additional $10,000. So we talked about 30,000 as our starting goal, and we were about 2,500 away. I wanted to make sure that we have enough, if we're making an ask from another funder, enough to get not just salaries paid out across the 6 months, but also cover FICA and any other benefits, and then also get started on paying for the training. You all received notice about that training opportunity that we're going to have in early December, and you also received the link to that survey. I would love for as many people on the call to participate and members of their team to participate. This is going to be a virtual training for the most part. If we wanted it to be in person, we can make it. But in general, I think everybody's had a lot of success attending these virtually. We will be able to record the training, and then we own the recordings. So our partner in this National Digital Inclusion Alliance, they want us to train other people. They want us to expand the footprint of digital navigators. And so we own the recordings, and then we can do with them whatever we want. So if you miss it and you want to watch it, and then feel like you're able to function as a digital navigator, let's talk about it. Let's put on another training and just watch the videos together. But this is going to be a really great opportunity to not just be trained at how to be a digital navigator, but also to understand what it is that these digital navigators are going to be doing in our community, and how best we can support that work. So I'll be straight up. The reason that we're doing the 2nd through the 6th, or I'm sorry, the 4th through the 6th as the window for this, is because I'm going to be out of town immediately before that, and I'm going to be on a brief medical leave immediately after that. So we want to get this training done, and we also want to get our new digital navigators hired, so that way they can attend this training and ready to go in that window. When you have a second, jump on that survey, take it and let me know, and let us know what works best for you, and whether you guys think that how many participants you think you might bring on for this training. NDI needs a head count, so that way they know how many breakout rooms to put together. But I think it's going to be a really, really great opportunity for our community, and certainly it's going to benefit the Navigator pilot. We did talk about in the past funding as a question. Total funding is going to be $10,000. We're not going to ask anybody we're not going to require anybody to put up funding in order to participate. We want everybody to participate. Anybody that has some capabilities to contribute, we would gladly accept it to make sure that we can cover this and spend this money wisely. So any questions on the Navigator training? No one? I don't see any hands raised. All right. Then the only other big thing I wanted to cover is to just, check in with you guys on devices and skills training. I know Rebecca's on, and we've talked about digital skills as such an important piece that TJ Ace has been doing. We had a chance a couple weeks ago to be at the UVA Latinx Health Initiatives health fair. And that was a really, really great time. And during that event, we were able to hear from Sin Barreras, Edgar Lara, who was also on one of these calls a few weeks back. I'm sorry, a few months back. Checked in with us on their efforts to put on some digital skills training, and they're doing it with a small group and with a limited number of devices. And so we are really, really eager to expand capacity for digital skills training. The barriers that we want to address first are, one, having digital navigators. And those digital navigators, the two things that they do is, one, develop the relationship that you need in order to get people to move past whatever fears that they have about what they're trying to do. The second thing is that basic and repetitive digital skills training that you really need to get a strong foothold before you start to advance. I know Rebecca's team at TJ Ace, they do that, both the relational part, but also those basic digital skills every time their clients come in. Making sure that they remember, how do I turn the device on? How do I log in? How do I get started? How do I get to my website and get going? Having the navigators be able to do check-ins and give people that sort of support is really, really helpful. But also that technical support, that troubleshooting that a digital navigator can provide is also really, really valuable, because if you have a client who that maybe an error message popped up or something else has happened and they're worried that there's a problem, having a navigator that they can lean on and say, hey, can you help me out? I don't know what's going on. That means that you're not going to have to do that during your skills training. You can focus your skills training on that skills training. So with that in mind, we're still interested in doing a device pilot. Ginger from Jefferson Area Board for Aging isn't available to be on today, but they actually have a large number of devices that they want to distribute amongst their seniors. And one of the things they've been cautious and holding back on is the fact that they didn't have a reliable tech support solution for when they get those devices out. So one of the things that the digital navigators are going to be able to do is provide that technical support. And then if we did a pilot, we would still be looking to do it as partners, and looking to sort of consolidate an ask. So we talked to all of you previously about, well, how many devices do you guys think you guys would be able to handle distributing? And I think that there are lots of different opportunities. There's also a couple of really solid solutions. We've talked in the past about PCs for People and Digitunity, two organizations that build ecosystems for device distribution. And so for a pilot, we'd really just be looking at raising some funds to buy devices, and then through partnerships with you all, get those devices distributed with technical support on a 24/7 basis from our partner, either PCs for People or Digitunity, and with digital skill support from those digital navigators, and then anybody that would be interested in putting on some digital skills training or expanding their existing digital skills training, we are eager to work with you all. I think it's really likely that we could put together a pilot for digital device distribution within the time frame of our digital navigator pilot. That makes sense. It's something that seems really doable. And when you think about these refurbished devices, you're not thinking of the fanciest devices, but you're also thinking about devices that you can probably get a lot of them for just a couple $1,000s. And then when we're talking about digital skills training, I think a pilot revolving around that is a little bit harder to conceive of at this time frame. And so instead, what we want to be thinking about is whether or not that can be something that we pair with early grant funding next year. So looking at opportunities to either develop new programs or develop a way to expand capacity in existing programs. So again, that was a lot. Any thoughts on it, all of that? I know, Catherine, how did your all's, how have all of your workshops been going? Sorry, Catherine, I put you on the spot.
Here I am. They've been going really well. We've had a lot of attendance. Abby just sent over some statistics on how many people were over 65 and how many were foreign language speakers. We have already just about met our grant requirements.
That's awesome.
Surprised actually at the level of interest and need. A lot of the curriculum is extremely basic. We weren't sure how well that would be received, but even at that level, we're getting requests to kind of offer it 2 or 3 times so that they have an opportunity for the information to really sink in. So this has been extremely useful, and the branch managers are all interested in having digital navigators in their branches at whatever level the community can support. Like, I think there's going to be maybe some lag time as it becomes aware of the service.
Yeah.
And we're hesitant to have people, put them in the branches, have them sitting there and not have anything to do until that awareness spreads. But we do think that once it's recognized, that there'll be a lot of interest.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for our for the pilot navigators, I think we're going to have a lot of work for them to do even during the downtime, because we've already got a lot of referrals coming in from Network to Work, and so I think that we're going to be able to keep them pretty busy even when they've got downtime. But I am excited that the skills workshops you guys put on were really successful, and I think Rebecca could when we met in person there at TJ Ace, they were able to list off the statistics for how many of each different category they were, and part of that's because of their grant funding, but it really is the case that there's a high demand in our area for basic digital skills training, and so we want to make sure that curriculums and navigators are ready to address the full breadth of what people are looking for. And in terms of our grant navigators, this is the grant that we applied for to do ACP outreach. Between this call and the last call, both of the navigators that we had made offers to are no longer with us. One of them actually got a job as a community health worker. And so I'm really, really, really happy for her because she's doing the work that she really wanted to do, and it's full time. But sad that we've already lost her. And then unfortunately, one of them it did not work out. And so we have the position open again. When I get off this call, I'm going to email you guys the position again. Please share with your communities, share it as far and wide as you could, print it off, stick it in the bathroom, put it everywhere. We want some really qualified, really strong local navigators to help spread the word on ACP. And yes, it feels like I'm going to be competing with myself. But if I can get 2 hired now and get them rolling, and they've got enough time, then maybe they can do both the Digital Navigator pilot and the ACP Navigator grant program. Either way, we really, really want these navigators out there. So if you're wondering why haven't I started sending you guys navigators to live in your branches and live in your communities and with your clients, it's because I lost both of them. But Augie Grischel, who started as an intern with us this past summer, is stepping up and is going to be able to help support the ACP Navigator program, and in addition to the other work that she's doing. And we are still on the hunt for more navigators to be able to contribute to this. So more to come there. Anybody else, any thoughts or questions on the pilot projects beyond the digital navigators? Nothing? All right, I'm going to call this one a quick 30-minute meeting if we don't have anything else. I'm going to post the recording as soon as I can and share it with everybody so that way they can take a look if they missed the meeting. I know that was a lot of kind of dense information, so anybody, if you have any questions, let me know. Any thoughts about how this impacts what you all have planned. And then, like I said before, I'm definitely going to post that, share that job description so that way we can get that spread really far and wide and hopefully get some great candidates. And then we will have more updates about the Digital Navigator training, and also eventually the Digital Navigator job posting. Ginger and I are going to sit down and talk about the specifics for how that's going to work. So yeah, that's all on the way. Sue, you turned your camera on. Did you want to add something? Nope.
Nope, I thought you were saying goodbye, so I was just turning it on.
Oh, I appreciate it. Well, no, that is perfect. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Have a great day and have a great weekend. I'll be honest, I'm gonna get off this call and get myself packed, and me and the kids are gonna go to Busch Gardens for the weekend. So y'all have a great weekend.
Thanks, Jason. See y'all. Thanks for attending, everybody. Bye.